I have a controversial statement to make. I believe that orcs are undoubtedly the most interesting faction in 40k right now. Controversial, they are so fun, but I think they go past fun. I think they are one of the most philosophically motivated factions in 40k right now. They are having the biggest moves. And so today, what I want to talk about is Ghazghkull, thraka, Ghazghkull, however we say it. I'm gonna say Ghazghkull and Makari. Makari is his banner waving grot, but in my personal humblest opinion, they are the two biggest moving characters in 40k right now. Now that's excluding Primarchs and everything; those are givens. The Primarchs are essentially the main characters. I just got done reading Ghazghkull, thraka, Prophet of the Waaagh. 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 I'm gonna be editing that out because that was so bad, or I'll leave it in if it's funny. We'll see. It's a novel by Nate Crowley, who he also wrote The Emperor's Gift, which is another book that takes place during the Armageddon Wars. And so this is essentially the other side of the coin, looking away from the Grey Knights, now kind of focusing on the orcs. Now, what Nate Crowley did with Ghazghkull and Makari is just really changing the way that I personally view orcs. Maybe not you. Maybe you had grander ideas of them before me, but my interpretation of the orcs was just Cockney British hooligans that loved hitting shit and always fought, and they weren't really much deeper than that. I know they have thoughts on the Humies and the Beakies, and they all have different kind of opinions on different races, but it kind of ends at how good of a fight they can put up. It's still a little bit of that, but it feels like more to me. I feel like we are starting to get into some more orc philosophy and insights, and especially how their gods, Gork and Mork, actually function now. So let's get into it. What makes Ghazghkull Thraka so special compared to other orcs? Well, because he's a thinking orc, of course. See, Ghazghkull started his life like any other orc, as an angry little mushroom person. Just a little fungus running around looking to cause some shit. But he quickly proved himself to the Goth clan and stormed a Humie base where he got fucking domed by a turret, of all things. And he was essentially dead. By the way, this is also just a very short and fast of the book. I don't want to spoil anything. It all takes place through an investigation done by Inquisitor Falx and a Space Wolf that is... I'll do another video on why I hate Space Wolves, but he was probably the worst part of the book. It's all very interesting. It's all told third party through Makari. But anyway, Ghazghkull gets domed. He is then put back together by an orc doctor named Grotsnick, who ends up being a relatively prominent character in the book. But we're not going to talk about much in this video. That'll be another day. And this is where Ghazghkull meets a small grot. The grot is working for Grotsnick, the doctor, and he just kind of essentially fetches him parts. And as the doctor's working on Ghazghkull dies, and he just kind of throws him out back. But all of a sudden, Ghazghkull comes to. He has an epiphany, a vision from Gork and Mork themselves, and as he wakes up, he sees the little grot, makes him stab himself in the leg. Not the grot, but he makes the grot stab Ghazghkull himself in the leg, and make a banner on a piece of sheet metal nearby and follow him around, and he gives this grot a name. He names him Makari. So Makari is now officially Ghazghkull's banner waver, which for a orc to just not instantly beat the hell out of a grot alone is just different. So already within the first couple of pages of the book, there's some new things happening that's kind of changing how orcs themselves function. Now with Ghazghkull and Makari in tow, Ghazghkull wakes up to this epiphany and he has to prove himself. He wants to find the biggest orc in town, and he does that and immediately headbutts him to death. And essentially gets the support of all the orcs in town. He grows about 3. He's like the Grinch. His heart grows 3 times the size, and so does his body in his fighting prowess. Ghazghkull manages to unite all the orc clans and even unifies them with a speech in order to end their civil war and encourage them to work together for the greater good of the Waaagh. Now, the speech is also just interesting. He encourages the orcs to stop fighting because they're just in a perpetual civil war constantly. Orcs love hitting shit, and they just wouldn't stop hitting each other, and he is able to convince them of a greater good, that if they all work together for the ultimate Waaagh, they will have the fight, the scrap of their life. This is where we start really seeing Ghazghkull change. Most orcs are just focus on the fight, but Ghazghkull is a prophet and has greater plans for his boys. He even goes to say some orcs are clever, some are strong. Ghazghkull is both. After the brain reconstruction from Ghazghkull, he starts to get headaches, which he interprets as messages from Ork and Makari. His headaches later progress into full-blown seizures, but he claims this is where he does his best thinking. It's just where everybody thinks, is when they're in the middle of a fucking stroke. See, Ghazghkull is very tactical. He puts thought into his battles, he strategizes, and he has a greater plan and motive than any other orc. He is also a feeling orc, which is something not really touched upon in the setting until now. He and his banner waver's relationship is frankly heartwarming at points. See, Makari is a grot, which to orcs is nothing other than cannon fodder. But Ghazghkull grows to respect Makari as much as an orc can and continually has him as his counsel. It's really his closest friend. This obviously takes time and is rare for a grot to live long, so whenever Makari dies, Ghazghkull can simply just reincarnate him into a new grot. There's actually a really great section in the book where Makari goes on an unaliving montage as a way to say fuck you to Ghazghkull after they had an argument. And Ghazghkull has to actively try and stop Makari from unaliving himself in any way he possibly can. And I realize as I'm explaining this, it sounds very bleak, but I promise it's a great comedic beat in the book and is probably one of my favorite sections of a book I've ever read. I very seldom actually laugh out loud while I'm reading, but when Makari was trying to beat himself in the face with a wrench, I thought it was pretty funny. So real quick recap, we have a thinking orc who is essentially Orc Jesus. We have a non-traditional grot that is devout and frankly badass, which changes everything we know of grots being scared shitless cannon fodder. And to top it off, we have a very interesting dynamic relationship between the two. There are even moments where Ghazghkull gets depressed and Makari has to listen to his woes, as he is such a thinker, many other orcs would never understand his plight. But whenever plans don't go correctly for Ghazghkull, he actually sits and dwells on it, and he even questions if he himself is good enough to be a prophet. So we start seeing him kind of spiral in sections throughout the novel where he even starts questioning if he can complete his mission, which is, it's very interesting to see an orc just not be completely headstrong all the time. But he knows he has to put on a show for the other orcs so that they don't lose their fighting motivation for the Waaagh. It is highly un-orky of Ghazghkull to kind of be down in his head and rethinking things. But see, Ghazghkull has a mission. Unlike other orcs, his goal is to make a Waaagh so big that it can eventually manifest Ork and Makari themselves from the warp, and this is where the potential for Ghazghkull really starts to show. I don't mean him himself, but for the setting. In the current timeline of the setting, we really don't know anything of Ork and Makari. As Ghazghkull's story progresses, so does our knowledge of the two orc gods. This has some really big potential shakeups for the setting, and as much as I love the mystery behind the two orc gods, I think it would be equally interesting to see them shake up the setting. As we all currently know of them is that Mork is for orcs that are brutal and cunning, and Gork is for the orcs that are cunning and brutal, which all orcs realistically are both, and so both gods are for all orcs. Now, if Ghazghkull is successful in bringing about the Great Waaagh and can manifest both Ork and Makari, who we don't really know what they would be. I don't think even the orcs know. So for all we know, Ork and Makari could be two quarks. Holy shit. I feel like Dr. Seuss reading this script, but the quarks were the ancestors of the orcs created by the old ones. For all we know, they could still remain in the warp. Trazyn has one in the infinite and the divine, so we know that they could still potentially exist. Or, as Ghazghkull continues to evolve and feel, we could even see him evolve into a quark, which could be insanely fucking cool and could be Ork and Makari's master plan. From a tabletop standpoint, this could really mean some rad minis, or even, fuck it, a new faction entirely for the quarks. Anyway, I just wanted to ramble about Ghazghkull for a bit, as he is currently my favorite character in the setting, if I haven't said that enough already. Also, if you haven't read Ghazghkull Thraka, Prophet of the Waaagh by Nate Crowley yet, please do yourself a service and do. I know everyone is up Eisenhorn's butt, but this short little novel is a fantastic intro to 40k. And I'll probably get around to doing an actual review of the novel soon. Also, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you. I just have a few words for you. If you don't want to listen to me ramble, just feel free to click off. But don't forget to interact with the video in some way, or don't. I can't really tell you what to do, but this video is definitely a different style for me. So I'd appreciate feedback on the format of this video, as if you couldn't tell, I'm very new to YouTube and definitely just trying to figure out my own style to work with. So, few questions. Do you prefer the faceless videos? Prefer the weird green screen edits I do? Whatever it is, just let me know. And don't forget, I love you and thank you for watching this video. Bye. Talk to you soon.